Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Become a God. In this episode, I'm going to take a look at another halftime tournament deck list. This time it's going to be SuperbLizard's Red Rush. Now, what's really important about this deck list is it only uses the core set. So if you're new to the game and you don't have access to the other expansions yet, and you want to play a good aggro deck, this is a perfect deck for you to try out. I think this is actually pretty good for newer players as well. It's quite a linear deck. It doesn't demand too much micromanaging of your creatures and your Faeria and stuff. You just get down to your opponent's orb, you play some aggressive lands, and then you keep playing creatures over and over again until you overwhelm your opponent. There are definitely decisions to be made, but most of the time you're just applying pressure. So it gives you a good way to kind of get used to Faeria, how the resource system works, how creature management works. And I think that, like I said, I think this is a good deck to start off with if you're new to the game. So a core set only deck. What's really fascinating about this build? No Flame Bursts, no Seifer's Wrath. This is like pure creatures. The only thing that's not a creature is the Cobbled Barracks, which there are 2 copies of. And you can slap that down, give your creatures a power up, and then punch the orb. So lots of cheap creatures that help power up the Firebringers, but also reduce the cost of HCs. These are your 2 kind of later game cards. Once you've played enough of these, 3 to 4 Faeria creatures, you're going to gain either cost reduction or power ups, depending on which one, and then you can play them in the later game just to finish things off. So let's get into some matches and see how this deck performs. Alright guys, first match ahead of us. We have some really good openers for the deck. We have the Outland Ranger, we have the Master Swordsman. So these are the ones we want to be looking for. Fire Elemental's also very good. We can get a Fire Elemental early, start pushing these lands into to the wells. We ideally want to get here. This is where we're going to get the money. We're going to get a power up on our Axe Grinder, and we're also going to be able to collect Faeria from the creatures we play. Sorry, I was a bit distracted then because this actually gains a power up while in hand. Now I do believe it gained the power up before or after you played it. So you play as a 2/3 and then it would gain the power up. But the fact that this gets a power up in hand is the reason why I think Lizard chose this card. It's a free Faeria card that synergizes with the rest of the deck. Very cool. I didn't actually know about this. So we're going to... I feel like we just go into an Outland Ranger, perhaps? It's difficult. I think the most difficult decision now is, do I play around Soul Drain? Do I play this and not Campfire it and hope it'll clear this Elemental? I do want to start getting some mountains going. That's for sure. But maybe I take a much less mountain-orientated route and just go double neutral, explore into the Outland Ranger and the Master Swordsman, and then maybe give the Campfire to this guy instead. Okay, I'm going to get 2 Faeria off the explore, and then I'm here, and I'm kind of forcing my opponent to do something in this region, and I can get the mountain down here next turn and go for the Axe Grinder. You know what, let's try that. I think it's quite strong. It'll give us a lot to work with. And we're just pushing this guy out of reach of the Water Elemental, and it can clear if this decides to run into it. So I'm just trying to... This guy has a bit more priority than the Outland Ranger, because it does become now a 5/4 on my turn. That's pretty good, We're going to be able to just slice quarter of the life off there. Humbling Visions, okay. Takes the Humbling. Doesn't collect any Faeria, that's really important. I wonder if we're going to see a double neutral here. I probably might just respect the Axe Grinder and go for the double neutral. Yeah, so we're going to respect the Axe Grinder. And that's fine because we can just shimmy to the left now. And go for mountain here instead. And then take this Axe Grinder. So now we have initiative on board. And what I mean by that is basically we have the first active creature that is able to do something. Which is really important against blue decks, since blue decks heavily rely on initiative to play reactively. But we have this aggressive mountain. That's the key. We lost the nice little path of lands here. We would have preferred this one. But taking this one's absolutely fine. You know, I'm pretty happy with that. So another Master Swordsman found. It's pretty good. I feel like we just take a mountain here. So we got 2 mountains. We're just building towards this bomb slinger. And we can take the 5. Or we can just slow down the Faeria collection. Then again, this Battletoad probably just jumps back anyway. So yeah, let's take the 5 to the face. And let's go for the... let's go for this guy. We could have cleared the Battletoad and missed the 5 damage, but this Battletoad will just jump here and then clear out the Axe Grinder. So the 5 damage to the orb is just much better. We might as well, because the same thing's going to happen. Even if there's like a Aurora in my opponent's hand, it's still the same result essentially. If there's Aurora, I kind of kill 1 frog, but the 5 damage might be a bit more important here. What's also really important is the fact that we're now 1 mountain away from Bomb Slinger. This powers up the Firebringer, and it gives us 4 damage to removal, which is pretty good. I think this is going to be a Humbling Visions. Yep, Humbling Visions. Collects. Decides to run into this dude. Is there a tower or an Emperor's Command? Oh, Spirit Theft. Spirit Theft is actually pretty decent. Gaining +1 and just playing out the Master Swordsman. But we're just going to Bomb Slinger it. That's going to be our next line. Oh! So taking the step back. Very nice. I like this. A good line to play there from my opponent. So we're going to take the mountain. I think we actually might take a mountain here. Gives us 2 hits here. A mountain here gives us 2 here. Mountain here gets coverage. I'm just looking at Bomb Slinger coverage. We're just going to Bomb Slinger here, but we might want to do it a little bit later to something else. I don't think a mountain here is very good. For now, I feel like we just go for this one. Just giving us another Axe Grinder avenue. I'll take the Bomb Slinger.
Let's explode together.
And yeah, he is a liar. He is not exploding. He's just blowing up the fanatic, and moving on with his life. Don't trust bomb slingers. If they say we're gonna explode together, they are liars. They are gonna live. This is really good for us. Like we're basically demanding a Mace Man, like the Master Swordsman. So Master Swordsman's a pretty good play. Could go for it this side and just play a little bit more defensively. If that's the case, we just go for the 4 damage to the face. Now, if the Master Swordsman comes down here, we actually get to just kill it. Or we can either kill it, +1 in a Firebringer to protect our Firebringer. Spirit Theft is really good, though. Spirit Theft is one of the reasons like Bomb Slinger kind of fell off for a little while. Goes for Fanatic. So going to block a orb anyway. That's absolutely fine. I feel like we actually just go for Axe Grinder now. That's pretty good. So we can just clear this. Go for the Axe Grinder and +1. Now the reason I've gone for an Axe Grinder here is because I want to keep our Faeria nice and high. And you'll get to this situation with Red Rush where you're just +1 in every turn. Either like +1 in to play something or +1 in to just keep your Faeria. And you can see my opponent's matching me now. But we are going to... I think we actually draw here. Because we'll be on the same amount of Faeria regardless of what play we make. So we can take a draw and try and find something like a Hate Seed. Firebringer is pretty good, so let's move across. Let's clear this guy. Let's take a Firebringer down. That is a bug. Okay. So that was a 2-3, but my Axe Grinder died, and it was a 5-4. Not entirely sure how that worked, but... Alright. It's just the way it is, I guess. Let's It's really annoying. That's really strange. That's something I'm gonna point out in the future. Alright, so we're gonna play a guy. We could take a draw to kind of find hate seeds. Now, the reason I want to find hate seeds is a really good tempo line, because we can play like a creature and a hate seed, so we get to just play two things in one turn. Now, alternatively, I could just +1, play something that costs 4, so I will be left on 3, and the next turn I'll collect +1, then play two things. I think that works out quite well for us here, so let's do that. So we are going for the +1 this turn. We're not relying on the variance of the draw to find the hate seed this time. We're just going to actually go for a bit more of a solid play. And what I can do is I can play Fire Elemental like here. Or I can play Fire Elemental behind this War Beast. And then I can make an aggressive mountain, and then I can play the creature on that mountain. Now, Spirit Theft gonna steal the Firebringer, which is absolutely fine. I'd rather have my Firebringer stolen than anything else. Not really interested. Oh, that is such a draw. Wow. Okay. So we get to take 5 damage, get a bomb slinger this guy,
Let's explode
and then we can
together.
+1, and then we can go for that double play next turn. The power of +1 Faeria with Red Rush is definitely there. It's very different to some of the Rush decks. Like, Yellow Rush likes to draw cards because they can get Khalim's Prayer, they can get cheap creatures that they can poke away at. But whereas Red Rush really just wants to be able to play as many 4-cost threats as possible. Because 4 is like the magic number. So now we can actually just go for 5 and play this guy. Yeah, I think we just cleared this. But this actually gives a lot of Faeria. I think board control's actually fine here. So we can go like clear on this. We can go +1. We'll play the Swordsman here. And then we play the Firebringer. And that sets up lethal just on the Firebringer. So we take away our opponent's Faeria collection options in order to set up lethal with the Firebringer alone. Instead of going face there. Because if we went face, sure, we did 5 damage, but our opponent could collect here and like maybe do something with 4 Faeria. If we left this one, our opponent could double collect and maybe get something done as well. So it's just... we're just playing around our opponent's options here, and well played there to our opponents. Really trying to hold off there. And 12 damage to the orb is going to seal the deal. And there we go. Like, that's kind of like... that's Red Rush in a nutshell, really. I'm on a win streak. I have played this a couple of games to just try it out. So next actual win, next win will get me to God rank. It's pretty good. But, yeah, your main decisions with Red Rush is like, do you +1? Most of the time you do. Most of the time you +1 when you get into these positions. So how do you get your land to your opponent's orb? How do you keep playing 4-cost creatures every turn? +1 or draw. Most cases you want a +1 to play 2 creatures. You can draw if you have a very low hand size. You can draw if you want to go for Hate Seed, but if you can play like 2 4-costs on the following turn, it's probably better 2 +1. And then just build up those Firebringers, hope you draw those Hate Seeds for tempo, and then winner. So let's go on to another match. Alright guys, next match here. Playing second, that's actually pretty important, and it gives us a lot of flexibility with Fire Elemental. So if you don't have the Explore, I probably wouldn't think about keeping this. I'm not sure. This is actually a decent keep. Most cases you just want like Outland Ranger, or you want to find yourself something like the Master Swordsman. But like Axe Grinder, Fire Elemental with the Explore, Fire Elemental on its own is pretty decent, I think, actually. Outland Ranger, they are the key cards. Alright, we're back, and our opponent's back as well. That's great. Like I said, I like to earn my stars. Hopefully my opponent's mulligan was decent. I don't want my opponent to have a really sad mulligan. But yeah, we're just going to double neutral. Get those double neutrals to start things off. We can go Explore. Mountain, Fire Elemental, Mountain, Axe Grinder. We could also go double neutral again if we want to play a little slower. Gonna go for Battletoads. Battletoads pretty decent in this situation. I think we maybe just wait. Or we just go explore Mountain Axe Grinder. I feel that we don't want to play the Fire Elemental into Battletoads. It's kind of a really sad. That's really sad for us. We want to at least force our opponent to have something. So we got 3 life here, so our opponent might just run these 2 into it. But if we were to play like Fire Elemental Axe Grinder, like Humbling Visions plus these 2 frogs running in would be pretty sad. But we'd have a decent follow-up, actually. We could just play another Axe Grinder, but I want to play the rest of my Axe Grinders on this well. I don't really want to play them as 4-3s. I'm just sticking this down to try and get rid of at least one of the frogs. So Fire Elemental is maybe a little safer. I also put something down that can contest a Collector. So if my opponent decides to play for the collection, I can then move across and hit. But my opponent's actually going pretty aggressive here. Oh, wow. This is, I actually really like this. Like, this is something different. Oh, it's blue jump. Right. Okay. This actually says a lot, because blue jump is actually one of the decks that can play like this. It used to in the past. Now, my opponent's actually going to get 4 damage before me. So do I start cleaning up frogs, or do I clean up the tower? I think we actually just clean up the tower here. Because then I can get this spot, and then I can Axe Grinder here. It just leaves 1 Faeria open. So I'm threatening 9 damage now. This will probably just jump across and clear. One of these might kill the Fire Elemental. There is 1 Horsemaster in here, so I could potentially push 5 damage with this. But as it stands, it's going to be much quicker for me to race unless my opponent has Aurora. That's when things start to get a little hairy. My opponent has Aurora. I'm probably going to be in a sad situation. But my opponent isn't collecting. That's pretty important. For damage, yes, and a pass. So we'll just take double neutral. I'm actually going to move this down. This is going to come back to defend. I'm going to push the 5 and then go for another Axe Grinder. So this is 10 damage next turn. Our opponent has to respect. Opponent might just +1 Phantasm here and then clear my my guy. So maybe I should have actually left this up to kill the Phantasm. Yeah. Interesting, okay. So this is lethal. Actually not that big of a deal. We're going to move this here. It's because we want to step on this lake to make sure that we can push past next turn. Go for this guy here. Take some land. So we're going to kill this frog. Then we're going to stick Hayseed down. So we're just trying to give us an extra creature to defend with. Opponent needs 4 damage. Very difficult for blue jump to get 4 damage. Like the Ninja Toad, it's 3 damage, right? Sunken Tower could like push this away, I guess. So maybe I needed to play this here, but I don't think it made a difference. So actually, maybe I should have neutraled around there to play around the Sunken Tower. So I'm now living on a campfire, but I'm just a top deck god, so I didn't get punished. So I learned something there. I should have played around the sunken tower. And I should have neutraled here. So I wasn't punished for my mistake. I was talking about earning my stars, honestly. But I just top decked the answer. And there we go. God rank off a top deck. I'm not too happy with that. I should have played around this, to be honest. But good game to our opponent. My opponent had a very good strategy. Like I said, Blue Jump in the past has opted to go for kind of a counter rush because it has the mobility of jump. Oh man, that's sad. I feel bad for my opponent. My opponent deserved that win. But yeah, good games. Let's move on to our next match. Alright guys, another game, our first one in God rank. Come on, game. There's 3 copies of each, I guess, but this is a really sad draw. You want to draw into these later. You'd never want these in your opening hand. So let's double neutral up. Goes from a forest into a Beastmaster. In Spirit of Rebirth. Spirit of Rebirth, we could... Oh, Spirit of Rebirth, it could be anything at this point. Could be sack. Could be a green deck. Could be some kind of green-blue deck. It's going to be sack by the looks of it. Yep. And we are lucky because our opponent didn't really have the means to stop this with the Explore. So we get a nice aggressive Axe Grinder to kick things off. And the Pest is a pretty decent pickup for us because it'll give us something to play turn 3. It's not the best. You know, it's given us something, but really what I need is another Axe Grinder, Master Swordsman. Oh, that's a card. That's a card that's a card that I need Horsemaster for. And there's one Horsemaster in the deck. Or I just need to beat the snot out of my opponent before anything gets going. Village Elder. Okay. Oh, War Beast. What a pickup. Nice. Alright, we represent 10 damage next turn unless a blocker comes in. But we can go for the Pest, which is pretty decent. Goes for the clear. On his own Village Elder to cycle. Also getting the power up from the Spirit of Rebirth. So unlike more traditional Red Rush, this doesn't have access to Flame Burst and Seifer's Wrath. Actually, I'm really surprised Lizard had the willpower to stop the temptations of those cards. Because for me, it's just like... I would just want to play them. Like I'd feel like my red deck was naked without them. Right, we're gonna take. I think we take a mountain here just to represent a threat. Oh no, actually, I think we take a mountain here just to represent a threat to this later on. We go for the Axe Grinder, and we go for the Pest. So fortunately for us, both of these do trade with the Spider. So hopefully Deepwood Stalker might stop my Faeria collection, or it might go for a clear on the most damaging creature. So many draws off this. Doomgate, what a sick card. I really like Doomgate. Big fan of it. Maybe that's the route that Green Yellow Sack needs to take now. Because Soul Eaters are good, but they're not as good as they used to be, because they used to power up on the field, which was huge for Green Yellow Sack. But they did check them come Fall of Everlife to make sure that the Soul Eaters weren't so dominant, because Green Yellow Sacrifice was probably one of the best competitive decks we've had in all of Faeria up until that point, just because of the scaling of the Soul Eaters, not from hand, but also from being able to scale on the field, which is, I think, is a really big deal. Like being able to having your creatures scale on the field is massive. Go for a land there. Is it going to pass? Yeah, it might just play the Bone Collector as a blocker. What's this at? 6-4. That's actually not bad. I wouldn't mind committing this. Oh, the old flash salmon sandwich, as I like to call it. Goes for collection, and then clears, and gains a power up. And cycles, and powers up in hand, potentially. Okay. So let's stick this down first. We are going to clear this, because this is a card that will snowball. Or I take the 6. I feel like we have to clear this. I think this might just be a bait to stop some damage to the orb. But I feel if I don't respect this card, it's going to come and bite me in the butt, which I definitely don't want. And then we go for the Firebringer. Then next turn, hopefully we draw a 4-cost creature, or a 3-cost Axe Grinder, or a neutral card, one of our 3-cost neutrals. And then we just go bam bam Hate Seed and just get 2 Hate Seeds down. And that creates a lot of pressure. Okay, maybe even give this a cheeky poke if we don't have the damage to represent lethal. There'll be another spider. That'll be the saddest thing. This needs to be 13 life, so it's still a couple of sacks away from getting online. It's going to be a Soul Eater, which has been powered up from the Spirit of Rebirth into a 12/12. Jeez. Madness. Okay. So we go for the 7 damage to the orb. We can then clear out the Spirit. So we probably take another land, because I need both mountains for my hates. Actually, I need a lot of mountains for my next play. I'm currently going to be sitting on 1, because I want to go into another pest, and I want to go into a hate seed. So I probably do take another land here, actually. We'll take a mountain. We'll kill this spirit. Go for the 7 to the orb. Go for another pest. And then we'll go for a hate seed. So there's just lots of tempo now. Just putting a lot of creatures down. 1 Soul Eater. It's going to be quite difficult to defend against everything. Also, like, I have the pest threatening the Doomgate, which is also very good for me. So I have a lot of ways to kind of just slow down my opponent's win condition. Because my opponent's going to be so focused on defending, it's going to have a maximum of 5 Faeria if it collects off this well and +1. There's also a Doomgate to cycle, so could cycle something. Kind of needs to kill this because Campfire represents lethal. If it moves here and kills this, it needs to put another blocker down. So could move +1, kill this and play another Soul Eater. But then he just died at Campfire. Bloom Spray. So yeah, it's gonna go for the Faeria option, and just kind of bank on that I don't have the Campfire. I saw another hate seed, so I can hit for 7. This is actually 9, so I could just clear the board instead. I gain Faeria, and I can tempo out this guy. So clear the move back, collect, clear the board. I could actually go for a draw, so let's draw for the Campfire lethal. Didn't find it. This will represent lethal on its own. So yeah, we can... let's do that. So let's move back. We'll clear this guy out. Kill this. Go for the Firebringer, and then go for a hate seed in the back. So this represents lethal alone. Don't be afraid to control the board, because the less fear your opponent has to harvest. If you don't have lethal that turn, it's better to stop your opponent from gaining an extra Faeria, because then it's more difficult to react. Now, what does Green Yellow Sack do with free Faeria? Probably a spider that has been powered up. But asking a lot of our opponent in that situation. There we go. So we just starved our opponent of Faeria. We cleared out all their defenses in hoping to set up lethal with this Firebringer. So it was a good game. It's actually looking pretty scary when the Spirit of Rebirth came down, and then we had the Spider. But the truth is, this deck has a lot of gas. It has like the 4 Faeria good stat creatures with big attack. And because of the nature of the deck, you can kind of just +1 and keep going. So as long as you have creatures to play in hand, +1's your best friend, and you just keep applying pressure. But there we have it, another win on the board. Let's get into another match. Alright guys, another game, looking pretty good. We have the Fire Elemental. I'm going to keep the Fire Elementals actually, because I think they're pretty good starters for us. It just helps us get into these wells, and that's what's important. We're trying to push a mountain into these wells so we can collect off them. Explore into lake. Lots of blue at the moment. No surprise, really. Very good opener there for us. We can go for a cheeky Master Swordsman. Really start applying pressure. Might give us the luxury of going in between the wells soon. Lakes to the one side, into the Archon, into the Triton. But yeah, we will go for a clear. Now we're just gonna take, unless we go for the damage, we could go for the damage. The problem is I have a bit of a clunky hand now because of the way things have gone. And if I don't go for the if I go for the damage, this just dies and one of these will stay alive. So I feel like I might actually kill this because it has the most flexibility to jump across and just build lands. So yeah, we'll go for this, and then we'll go for the Fire Elemental. Again, we're just going to push into this well. See if our opponent responds with a double neutral. Because if we get the Axe Grinders down, well, once we get on this well, as you've seen in my previous games, things start to look really good for us. Emperor's Command's pretty good here, I think, for my opponent. Can Emperor's Command this, take the clear and keep a collector, which can actually represent double collecting in the future. My opponent might just not respect this and just go double neutral and start double collecting anyway, and then maybe set up Battletoads. That's not bad. I feel my opponent could just tank 5 damage to the face this turn. It's a shame we had to go for like the fork. Or the end of the arrow here. We had the prong off here. I wanted to just go down one side. But like I said, I was in a situation where I had to use my Master Swordsman because he would have lost the attack. Yeah, Humbling Visions. And another way to do Emperor's Command, Humbling Visions. Just take in a slower line. Get the Axe Grinder down. It does give our opponent an opportunity to build defensive land in this situation, which is a little sad. My opponent's not going to go for it, actually. Just going to go for a Triton. Yep, and just going to try and race me by looks of things. Ah, no, that was stupid. Oops. I shouldn't have built a land there because I should have forced my opponent to build a land there. As soon as I did that, I was like, nope, that was wrong. Take the pest. Boom. Smack for 5. So we are currently winning the race. Because now my opponent can just jump across and build a land here. Now my opponent could have double neutraled, I suppose, you could argue. But I'd rather force my opponent to do that. Gabriel Warden? What a boss. Gabriel Warden, eh? Huh. Alright. This is difficult because the campfire does push this up to a 5. And then I can just run 7 damage to the orb. But I don't want to put my Outland Ranger in this region because it just dies to one of these guys. I think I actually do this. And just get a collector on the right. Go for the campfire. Now, do I push 7 or I take bold control? I think I just push 7. Because my opponent has to kill this anyway. He can use the combination of these two, which is fine. Goes for I guess Humbling Visions is a problem, right? I should have played around the Humbling. I'm not completely used to Humbling Visions being that good of an option. Could have used Humbling to kill, but now I'm in an issue. Now I have the issue where my opponent has too many creatures for me to answer. It's a pretty good pickup overall, but my opponent is in such a good spot. Let's take a draw. Because I feel like I need to find a hate seed.
Let's explode together.
Hopefully these guys trade. This has to come across here if it wants to attack. It probably goes back up and collects because it will respect the Outland Ranger. This will jump across and hit or build a land. And now we're just going to go into the Firebringer and just try and finish things off. So I'm hoping my opponent just goes a bit more all in on aggression. Maybe even slaps down a Colossus. Archon. That's in a really good position. But I feel like I have to roll the dice, unfortunately. I have to just play the Firebringer and hope my opponent doesn't have an answer to it. So let's do it. Yeah, we're just crossing our fingers, hoping this can't get the power up. We've seen a Warden, so my opponent can come down, collect +1 into a 7 cost to push this up to 6, up to a 6/6. But like I said, I'm just rolling the dice here. This is some of the things you have to do with aggro. You just have to like gamble and hope your opponent doesn't have the answer, but does have the Colossus. Very unfortunate there. I was hoping that Colossus got played last turn. Takes a clear. I'm fine with that. That's no. Oh no. Did the Archon move down? Archon hasn't moved down yet, so can set up lethal. Goes for the defense. Interesting. I feel I have to draw for a hate seed. Didn't find it. This is probably game, unless I play like Fire Elemental here, play a Mountain, and then block this. Still pushes for 7 if the Mystic Beast kills it. It does keep me alive, but it's kind of bleak at this point. I feel like I made some mistakes along the way. Like I took the damage to the orb on the, but I should have actually taken the clear the player at Humbling Visions. I would have just got humbled anyway, but at least my opponent wouldn't have had as many creatures. Opponent takes 7. Maybe clears the Fire Elemental in this situation. If it doesn't play anything behind, I'll have a chance. But very unlikely that's going to happen. Yeah. Emperor's Command. Yeah. Too much power reduction for me to deal with. Ah, there's a hate seed. Really needed to tempo out a couple of hate seeds that turn. Well played to our opponent here. Blue jump doing its thing very nicely. But yeah, first loss of this episode. Gonna drop 69. Feels bad. But yeah, a few little missteps from me going for damage instead of going for board control. It was difficult because of that Warden. Was not expecting a Warden at all. Such good value on the protection there. But good game to my opponent. Played it very well. Understood what was needed to be done. But yeah, let's get on to another match. Alright guys, into another match. Gonna throw these away. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. Yep, that's the life we lead. We are living the Hate Seed Firebringer draw life, which is really sad. So sad. Just give me a creature game, come on. This is alright, I suppose. I have the explore into the mountain, so I can just like build towards this. At least I get to play this in 2 turns time. I really hope I get a creature. I'm actually gonna double neutral now and take this spot. A little controversial maybe. I'm now not building towards the bomb slinger, but getting this well spot's really important. Time and time again I've said during this episode, and you can actually see how important it is. That's the thing. So we're gonna see Ground Shaker, Seifer's Wrath. Yeah. So just forcing stuff out of my opponent's hand into Grimgar. So this is a very defensive, reddish control. That's fine. Oh, what a draw! Get the Axe Grinder down. Now, I don't think we will see a Gift of Steel from our opponent. A Gift of Steel has definitely fallen off, but even if a Gift of Steel was to come down, we still have the Bomb Slinger follow-up, which is really good. So I'm pretty pleased that that Bomb Slinger is an option. Firebomb is really good here as well for my opponent. Seifer's Wrath. Seifer's Wrath. That's not good for us. Now our aggressive mountain has been covered, and we still have to deal with this, but it's fine. I top deck an Axe Grinder. I'm good like that. I kind of top deck things I need. So we got the double side. All Seifer's Wraths are gone. All 3 of them were drawn very early on. Now I'm hoping that the old Axe Grinder can get some work done. Because our opponent paid 4 Faeria 2 cards to kill an Axe Grinder that turn. Good rate for us. Very good rate. Now Ground Shaker needs to decide, does it move into a more defensive position, or does it backpedal and collect to gain more resources? I think Ground Shaker's in a pretty flexible slot right now. No damage done to the orb. No, Axe Grinder is taunted up in a non-aggressive position. The only problem I feel my opponent has is I am collecting off that well. That does make a difference. What's next? I don't know. Is it just Firebomb? Is Havoc gonna have 6 Faeria for my free Faeria creature? I'll take it. Give me another Axe Grinder. I'll take Fire Elemental. Fire Elemental's fine. I will take a draw here. Feel like we're in a pretty good spot to draw. So yep, go to a mountain on this side, and then we're gonna go into the Pest. So now the Pest challenges the Ground Shaker. So just challenging the Harvester on the right. This might just get Flame Burst, which is really sad. And then this just clears this, and he plays, just stays with the axe. This Grimguard still remains on my mountain. Get off my mountain! I need that. Come on. I feel we're doing fine. I think we're in a decent position. We're doing fine. We're just, is that Havoc? No. No. It's a Flame Burst. Okay. This is a 7/5. This might move back to Taunt. I'm totally fine with that. It gives me my mountain back. Give me my mountain back. I want it. Right, great. Cheers. Feel good about that. Thanks for the mountain. Okay. We're still in a... These are not helpful right now. We do need to draw. We need to find more threats to play. So we are going to play a Warbeast. I want to build this up a little bit more before we play it. Mainly because Havoc is a thing. If I can get this outside of Havoc range, I'd be very happy. But I feel that's quite optimistic. There's also play here. We've seen 1 Flame Burst, 2 Seifers, a Havoc. Maybe it's a Recurring Copter. It's going to be a Bloodsinger. Okay. Into a Flame Burst. The beautiful sound. Okay, I guess we can draw. Right. It looks like we're going to go for a Firebringer because we don't have much choice. Now, if this gets Havoc, I'll be pretty sad. So I feel like I'm going to play... I could actually play a Hate Seed here. That's not bad because I can just follow it with a Bomb Slinger anyway. So let's go for Hate Seed. Just to block, just to protect the 5 damage. So we're throwing this kind of to the wolves in hopes that we can protect the Warbeast to push more damage next turn. Takes a draw. And we have potential lethal, right? So that goes up to 10. So yeah, we have lethal with the Barracks. So this is where Barracks is really strong. It gives a it's like 4 damage for 2 Faeria. That's really good. So this actually gives us a good lethal setup. If this gets cleared and then this doesn't get answered, these two don't get answered because I'm covering this mountain. So lethal on the horizon. Let's say this does get answered somehow and we just left with a Firebringer. We can still push 8 and then we can Bomb Slinger the remains of this and then have this on the mountain. So we're still in a pretty good position. Like I feel like my opponent needs to Havoc. My opponent needs to Havoc this and then clear this out. I still push 5, and then I can +1 into Bomb Slinger and finish this off. And then I will have 10 life remaining. I can +1 Firebringer on the follow-up, which will be a 10-8. So everything's looking really good for us. Bomb Slinger here, move across clear is also very good. But I can still follow up with the Bomb Slinger. Is that another Flame Burst? Are you serious? All the Flame Bursts and all the Seifer's Wraths in the early game. Crazy. What madness is this? Yeah. Say hi.
Let's explode together.
Go for +1. We want to make sure we have enough Faeria to play the Firebringer next turn. And then we're going to have it a scoop from our opponent. Too much pressure. Way too much pressure. And that's what this deck does really well. It applies a lot of cheap pressure. It can be difficult for slower decks to really come back from stuff like this. You know, you're playing your 4 Faeria, 3 Faeria, 5-4. They're having to find a combination of removal to get rid of it. Like, my opponent had all 3 Seifer's Wraths, all 3 Flame Bursts, and a Havoc. But that's so much Faeria and so many cards. For guys, I'm just going, alright, +1, play this guy. You spend more Faeria or match my Faeria with multiple cards. Okay, +1, I'll play another one. Now you need the same options again to respond. So this is why Red Rush, especially the Angry variant now, is so strong. Has a really good finisher. Has good tempo plays with the Hate Seeds. But it can just apply a lot of pressure very cheap. And that concludes this episode of Become a God, covering SuperbLizard's Angry Red Rush, which was featured in the halftime tournament for the launch of Resurgence. SuperbLizard got second because unfortunately he did have to leave the finals in order to resolve an emergency. And Nessadorn did win the tournament, but you know, S and SuperbLizard's, we don't know who would have won that finals in the end. It did go to S by default, but ultimately Lizard could have been our champion as well. And like I said at the start of the video, this deck only uses core cards. So if you haven't bought any of the expansions, you're new to Faeria, you're just trying it out, you're looking for a good aggro deck, build this. As you can see, it's very good, very strong, very linear as well. Linear decks are always great for when you start off. You know, just help you get used to the mechanics and the way Faeria plays. That's always very useful. You don't want to dive into the deep end and pick up Essadorn's mill deck. Don't want to go there just yet. If you're new to the game, pick up some solid creature-based decks like this Red Rush, like Beastmaster Green. Like, these are very good decks that will teach you positioning, moving around the board, where to play your creatures, and you can learn a lot from these decks. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, drop a subscribe to keep up to date of when our content goes live. You can check out the halftime tournament over on our YouTube channel. We have the full tournament for you to watch, casted by myself, Scorch, Atmaz, and run by Manchi. So you can hear my commentary if you've never heard that before, and you can find that on this channel. Just leave a video to the side. You can also check out my green-yellow mid-range video featuring Amoeba's green-yellow deck from the halftime tournament as well. So if you'd like to see that deck in action more after watching the video, be sure to check out that halftime tournament. Lots of matches featuring Amoeba and that deck, so it can give you some better ideas on how to play it. I had a good run with it, but Amoeba invented the deck, so he's going to have the strongest insight on how to play, and you could learn a lot from watching that tournament. So until next time, guys, take care and enjoy SuperbLizard's Angry Red.